Good day friends, today we will discuss about consumer buying behavior, which studies various situations such as what do consumers buy, why do they buy, when do they buy, how often do consumers buy, for what reason do they buy, and much more. It is a study of the actions of the consumers that drive them to buy and use certain products. For marketers, it helps them to relate better to the expectation of the consumers. As marketers, we need to put our own biases aside and see things through the lens of our customers. We need to steep ourselves in their needs and desires, focusing on key pain points and opportunities to delight. It is important to assess the kind of products liked by consumers so that they can release them to the market. Marketers can understand the likes and dislikes of consumers and base their marketing efforts based on the findings. Importance of consumer behavior. It is essential for a company to succeed in its current products and new product launches. Consumers have different thought processes and attitudes toward buying a particular product. If a company fails to understand the reaction of a consumer towards a product, there are high chances of product failure. Due to the changing fashion, technology, trends, living style, disposable income, and similar other factors, consumer behavior also changes. A marketer has to understand the factors that are changing so that marketing efforts can be aligned accordingly. Consumer differentiation, distinguishing a consumer from several other consumers. This helps to make a target group of consumers with the same or similar behavior. Every company has targeted customer demographic in business. You can still have variations between individual customers. Each group of consumers is different, and their needs and wants differ from other groups. Consumer differentiation will help to tailor your strategies to the needs of varying customer groups. When consumer differentiation is done, you can expand the width and breadth of your services. You will be able to effectively serve a wider group of people. Retention of consumers. Consumer behavior is not just important to attract new customers, but it is very important to retain existing customers as well. When a customer is happy about a particular product, he or she will repeat the purchase. Therefore, marketing the product should be done in such a way that it will convince customers to buy the product again and again. Thus, creating customers and retaining them can be done only by understanding and paying attention to the consumer's buying behavior. Design relevant marketing program. Understanding consumer behavior allows you to create effective marketing strategies. Each campaign can speak specifically to a separate group of consumers based on their behavior. For example, while targeting the kids market, you may have to look out for venues such as TV ads, school programs, and blogs targeting young mothers. You will need to take different messaging approaches for different consumer groups. A study of consumer behavior enables marketers to understand what motivates consumers to make purchases. Furthermore, the same motive can be utilized in advertising media to stir the desire to make a purchase. Moreover, marketers should make decisions regarding the brand logo, coupons, packing, and gifts based on consumer behavior. Predicting market trend. Consumer behavior analysis will be the first to indicate a shift in market trends. For example, the recent trend of consumers is toward convenience and quality food. By conducting a consumer behavior study, a company saves a lot of resources that might otherwise be allocated to produce a product that will not be sold in the market. For example, in summer, a brand will not waste its resources producing a product that will not sell in summer. Based on consumer behavior, the company decides on a production strategy that will save on warehouse costs and marketing costs. Competition. One of the most important reasons to study consumer behavior is to find out answers to some of the questions. Is the customer buying from your competitor? Why is a consumer buying from your competitor? What features attract a consumer to your competitor's products? What gaps are your consumers identifying in your products when compared to your competitors? Studying consumer behavior facilitates understanding and facing competition. Based on consumers' expectations, your brand can offer competitive advantages. Innovate new products. We all know some of the big names, such as New Coke, Crystal Pepsi, Colgate Kitchen Entrées, Earring Magic Ken Doll, and Wheaties Dunkable cereal. Can you see the similarities between these products? Yes, they all failed. The sad truth is that most new products and new ideas end up in failure. There is an estimate of new product failures. They range from 33% to 90% based on the kind of industry. Companies consistently strive hard to improve the success rate of their new products or new ideas. One of the most important ways is to conduct a sound and thoughtful consumer behavior study. With the help of consumer behavior analysis, Nike realized that most of its target audience is not professional athletes, but many of them were striving to be more like them. So at the 2012 Olympics in London, Nike introduced a campaign to encourage athletics called Find Your Greatness. It aimed to promote the aspirations of being an athlete, not just with high-performing athletes, but wanted to include all people regardless of their physical capability. The campaign was well planned and was data-driven, of course, carefully analyzed before taking any action. This message inspired many consumers and had enormous appeal to target consumers. Stay relevant in the market. When the world is changing as rapidly as it is happening today, the biggest challenge we all face is staying relevant to our target market. And do you know what the main reason behind the rapid changes is? It is the ever-changing behavior of our customers. Today's consumers have greater choices and opportunities, which means they can easily switch to a company that offers better products and services. Losing relevance will only cost the company its market share. Haven't we seen Sony Walkman failing to stay relevant in the digital music era and the taxi industry doomed with no preparedness to battle the Uber uprise, improve customer service? Consumers require different levels of customer service, and understanding the differences within your customer base will help you provide the most appropriate service for individual needs. For example, if you own an electronics store, high school or college students who buy a new laptop are more likely to understand the features they're looking for than a person buying his first computer. With the first demographic, your service goal will be to provide information about the latest trends in technology, while with the second demographic, you'll need to spend more time educating the customer, finding out what his specific needs are, and even teaching him how to use the features of his new electronic device. Common consumer aspects: price, experience, design, functionality, convenience, reliability, compatibility. Type of consumer: the perfectionist. The perfectionist is very careful and deliberate in their purchasing decision, and the one that most values quality. They systematically search for new information and make very deliberate choices. They act almost purely with system to thinking. After going to 10 different dealerships, sitting in dozens of cars, and test driving at least 6, the perfectionist is ready to make a purchase. Buys a 2015 Honda Accord with 40,000 miles on it for $16,900. Every detail is perfect, from the fuel economy to the interior space. Furthermore, the perfectionist chose to buy this gently used 4-year-old car because it knocked about 25% off the current price, but far less than that in terms of the actual life of the vehicle. Well done, perfectionist. If you want to appeal to the perfectionist, that's going to be tough. Everything about your product, service, and the experience around it needs to scream quality. Otherwise, this customer will turn and leave. The image conscious, buy to impress people, whether they admit it or not. He can be a bit of a price snob, and he believes, no matter what they say, the higher priced stuff is usually better. He wants to turn heads, and he has a lot of friends he wants to impress. He doesn't care about the fuel economy or the comfort. It's purely about brand name and the image that it evokes. He goes to the dealership and buys a brand new Jaguar XJ. Perhaps he should have bought two, so he could always drive his Jaguar while the other is in the shop being repaired. You don't necessarily have to have a big brand to capture the interest of the image conscious. If you can create an experience that feels luxurious, many image conscious people will purchase from your small business. This is because helping small businesses is trendy. All you have to do is look the part. The hedonist is in it for the thrill. She doesn't care about the cost, or honestly, what anyone thinks. She wants a fun, fast, hot car. You see, she doesn't think, she simply does. Anybody who doesn't like it can back off. Would that the naysayers only had the recreation-conscious joie de vivre that she possesses. She bought a Ford Mustang GT. Yes, some people will balk and say this is a classic move for someone who just came into money. Many of her wealthy friends will snort because she bought a large Hot Wheels car. She doesn't care. She's having fun. If you want to appeal to the hedonist, you need to make your purchasing process easy. The hedonist wants joy out of life, and too much work would spoil that. Above all, your product or service will need to be an absolute blast to experience. The frugal customer whose decision-making style is based on price and value. He is willing to search exhaustively for lower prices. He is motivated by the possibility of a great deal. The frugal may be acting this way because he has a poor financial situation. It could also be that he feels like he should spend his money wisely. For this example, we won't make a distinction, but you may need to if you want to understand your customers. After exhaustively searching Craigslist for used cars, the frugal finds a 1990 Toyota Camry with only 80,000 miles on it. That's only a third of its life expectancy. Granted, one of the brake rotors needs replacing and the sunroof is leaking, but that's fixable with a junkyard part and some silicone. The chipped taillight can be fixed with $2 taillight tape. The fading paint and crumpled back bumper aren't a big deal, it's only cosmetic. That smell can be covered up with Febreze. Overall, it's a great find for $550. The frugal speak only one language, $signs. It's usually pretty dangerous for small businesses to compete on price since larger competitors can win by economy of scale. If you wish to win over the frugal as a small business owner, make sure you communicate that your product or service is a great value. More sophisticated frugal shoppers understand that sometimes you save the most money by buying something nicer in the first place. The novelty seeker. The novelty seeker is always up for something new. She gets a great thrill out of trying something she's never experienced before. This disposition of hers extends so far that she is excited to try a vehicle from the automotive startup company, Rivian. She buys the Rivian R1T, a pickup truck that runs on an electric engine and can go very, very fast. It's expensive and it's not well known, but it may very well be the future. If you want to reach out to novelty seekers as a small business owner, you are in a good place. For one, your small business may not be well known, which is appealing to the novelty seeker. She is willing to take a risk on you and finds the thrill of discovery exciting. Novelty seekers are especially important if you're making a really unusual product or providing a really unusual service. To a lesser extent, this remains true even if you're just carving out a weird niche in an existing category. The impulse shopper just drove home with a brand new Cadillac today. I don't know what he was thinking, or if he was at all. Impulsive shoppers don't engage with products or services in a thoughtful or even emotional level. They just make a pure snap judgment and stick to it. To engage the impulse shopper, all you really need are two things. You need an amicable price that doesn't make the impulse shopper think twice. The other thing you need is a clear call to action. It could be a big red button on your website next to a gorgeous picture. It could be a sale. There are a lot of options. The confused, car shopping is really hard. There is an enormous amount of metrics to consider and the choices are overabundant. With so much to choose from, the confused is having a hard time making a decision. Unable to fully process everything that goes into purchasing a car, the confused falls back on a safe assumption, buy a gently used Honda Civic. You can't go wrong with a Honda Civic, she says. If your industry confuses people, you could be a breath of fresh air. This is such a huge opportunity. One of the biggest value adds I have ever found is simply explaining something complicated in a thorough but approachable way. This is my intention with marketing, is the product, in fact. One more thing, if your business itself causes people to swap decision-making styles to the confused from any other category, then you have an issue. You will need to correct the user experience if you wish to gain more sales. Basically, if you're doing this, you're leaving money on the table. The loyal is a cousin to the confused. They go with simple decisions simply because it's exhausting to consider all the factors. The loyal says to himself that, it's worked before, so it should work again. The loyal has been driving a Ford Focus for as long as he could remember. Since college, in fact, and now he's married with kids. He knows it's a pretty good car, and he realizes there are probably better choices out there. However, he finds comfort in going with something he already recognizes. As a result, he buys the same car again, just a few years newer. For the small business owner, loyal customers are among the best. You want as many people as possible using a loyal decision-making style when purchasing your products or services. If you wish to attain customers like this, though, you're going to have to work hard to win them over. After that, you'll have to work hard to retain them. Your relationships will count for a lot. Purchasing consumer decision, emotion, and motivation first share Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's a well-known framework in psychology showing how people perceive their needs. The bottom needs are the basest of human needs and need to be met before you can start to worry about financial security, long-term health, friends and family, and especially self-actualization. Because you, like most people reading this post, probably live in a wealthy industrialist nation, most needs you will be meeting will be in the top 3 parts of this pyramid. Business boils down to fulfilling needs. If you don't fulfill someone's need, you go out of business. Marketing helps us communicate with people that we understand their needs and have what they require to fulfill their needs. When you have a need, it alters your emotional state and you are motivated either positively or negatively. If motivated positively, you want to go from a state of boredom to stimulation or something similar. If motivated negatively, you want to make an annoyance, fear, disappointment, or conflict go away. Keep in mind your customers' emotional states, they change the entire shopping process. Beliefs and prior experiences. If your customer has preconceived notions about what your product, service, brand, or industry, that will change their decision-making style. Sometimes, your customer has a good reason to believe what they do, prior experience. Sometimes, they act from prejudice or hearsay, an unfounded belief. Still other times, they have notions formed by research they found through friends or on the internet, which may or may not be accurate. You'll never believe what I heard from my friends. This is all to say that what your customers see and hear changes their decision-making style. What's more, what they pay attention to and what they remember also changes their decision-making style. Often, we tend to find evidence to fit a pre-existing belief instead of the other way around. This is called confirmation bias, and it is the mother of all cognitive biases. The takeaway for you is that customers are not a blank slate. Customers come with all kinds of ideas, right and wrong, loaded into their heads. Culture and subculture, there's no pressure, quite like peer pressure. The country you live in, as well as the people you associate with, will greatly impact your decisions whether or not you intend for that to happen. This is also the case with your customers. Your decision-making styles that your customers use will at least partly be determined by where they live and who they're friends with. If you live in Manhattan and you work in the high finance industry, you will be expected to have a nice car. It's just a part of the subculture. A Ferrari has no additional value over a Honda in a purely utilitarian sense, but the need to keep up with your peers would be pretty immense. No judgment here, social ostracism is very bad for you. Likewise, if you take that very same car and give it to someone in a low-income rural area, it would create an uncomfortable amount of attention. Yes, the Ferrari would be very fun for a short time, but ostentatious displays of wealth in places where that is not the custom will make people treat you strangely. In some subcultures, like the high finance industry, you buy in a brand-conscious way. In other subcultures, you buy strictly for utility, point A to point B. As a small business owner, realize that people from different backgrounds see the world in different ways. If you want to see this in stark relief, go to an international airport and talk to some strangers. You'll see lots of different attitudes toward unexpected conversation, a good deal of which has to do with culture. Socioeconomic class, the previous example touches on this, but it bears further explanation. Your socioeconomic class changes your needs. People living in poverty need to get by. People living in the middle class need to live within their means while having a certain level of comfort. Lastly, people living in the upper class need to protect their investments, live comfortably, and, possibly, meet the needs of their social stratum. You may say, impressing other people isn't a need. It isn't, at least not strictly speaking. In marketing, however, impressing others or fitting in is considered a need. It's just a different kind of need, higher up on Maslow's hierarchy. I need someone to hold all my money. When you are selling as a small business owner, understand that people have different needs based on their incomes. People with lower incomes feel constantly squeezed and have to consider utility more than others. People with higher incomes feel different pressures, which may seem odd if you're not a part of their social class, but it's very real to them. Reference groups. A reference group is a group of people that customers look to when making a decision about a purchase. Some reference groups are aspirational, experts, or thought leaders who the customer wants to be more like. On the other hand, some reference groups are to be avoided. I don't want to be like them. Like it or not, people compare themselves to others. This changes customers' decision-making styles, and you need to be aware of it when selling things for your small business. Situations. Last, but not least, you have no idea what kind of day your customer is having. If their basement flooded, they probably don't want to buy tickets to the water park. If they had a bad day at work, your subpar chocolates might be just the pick-me-up they need. Bear this in mind when you're a small business owner. There are some situations you cannot control. Purchasing consumer decision. Consumer behavior entails all activities associated with the purchase, use, and disposal of goods and services, including the consumer's emotional, mental, and behavioral responses that precede or follow these activities. The term consumer can refer to individual consumers as well as organizational consumers, and more specifically, an end user, and not necessarily a purchaser, in the distribution chain of a good or service consumer behavior is concerned with. Purchase activities, the purchase of goods or services, how consumers acquire products and services, and all the activities leading up to a purchase decision, including information search, evaluating goods and services, and payment methods including the purchase experience, use or consumption activities, concerns the who, where, when, and how of consumption and the usage experience, including the symbolic associations and the way that goods are distributed within families or consumption units. Disposal activities concerns the way that consumers dispose of products and packaging, may also include reselling activities such as eBay and second-hand markets. Consumer responses may be emotional or affective responses, refer to emotions such as feelings or moods. Mental or cognitive responses refer to the consumer's thought processes. Their behavioral or cognitive responses refer to the consumer's observable responses in relation to the purchase and disposal of goods or services. Types of consumer decision roles. Consumers are active decision makers. They decide what to purchase, often based on their disposable income or budget. They may change their preferences related to their budget and a range of other factors. Some purchase decisions involve long, detailed processes that include extensive information search to select between competing alternatives. Other purchase decisions, such as impulse buys or habitual purchases, are made almost instantaneously with little or no investment of time or effort in information search. When a purchase decision is made by a small group, such as a household, different members of the group may become involved at different stages of the decision process and may perform different roles. For example, one person may suggest the purchase category, another may search for product-related information, while yet another may physically go to the store, buy the product, and transport it home. It is customary to think about the types of decision roles, such as the initiator, the person who proposes a brand or product for consideration, something in return. The influencer, someone who recommends a given brand. The decider, the person who makes the ultimate purchase decision. The purchaser, the one who orders or physically buys it. The user, the person who uses or consumes the product. For most purchase decisions, each of the decision roles must be performed, but not always by the same individual. We'll discuss the most important consumer behavior models and explain how you can use them to create customer-centric experiences. What is a consumer behavior model? A consumer behavior model is a theoretical framework for explaining why and how customers make purchasing decisions. The goal of consumer behavior models is to outline a predictable map of customer decisions up until conversion, thus helping you steer every stage of the buyer's journey. As a whole, buyer behavior refers to an individual's buying habits based on influences from their background, education, personal beliefs, goals, needs, desires, and more. Businesses aim to understand buyer behavior through customer behavior analysis, which involves the qualitative and quantitative analysis of a target market. Even though this data can tell you your customer's favorite brand of socks, it doesn't mean much if it doesn't tell you why they purchased that brand of socks. Consumer behavior models, customer behavior models, help you understand your unique customer base and more effectively attract, engage, and retain them. These models are either traditional or contemporary. Traditional behavior models were developed by economists hoping to understand what customers purchase based on their wants and needs. Traditional models include the following: learning model, psychoanalytical model, sociological model, economic model, learning model of consumer behavior. The learning model of customer behavior theorizes that buyer behavior responds to the desire to satisfy basic needs required for survival, like food, and learned needs that arise from lived experiences, like fear or guilt. This model takes influence from psychologist Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The bottom level of this hierarchy represents basic needs, and ascending sections describe learned needs, or secondary desires, that allow consumers to feel as though they've reached self-fulfillment. The learning model says that consumers first make purchases to satisfy their basic needs, and then move on to meet learned needs. For example, a hungry customer would fulfill their need for food before a learned need to wear trendy clothing. If you're a multipurpose business that sells products that meet all levels of customer needs, this model applies to you. For example, Target is a department store that sells hundreds of products. Super Targets are larger versions of the chain that also sell groceries. When a customer visits a Super Target, they first see products that satisfy their basic needs, the grocery section. They're probably also seeing produce first, as these items are seen as the most nutritious and necessary for survival. After produce, customers move on to other aisles that satisfy learned needs, like purchasing their favorite cookies, clothing items, or beauty accessories. Psychoanalytical model of consumer behavior. Sigmund Freud is the father of psychoanalysis. The psychoanalytical model draws from his theories and says that individual consumers have deep-rooted motives, both conscious and unconscious, that drive them to make a purchase. These motives can be hidden fears, suppressed desires, or personal longings. Thus, customers make purchases depending on how stimuli from your business, like an advertisement on Instagram, appeal to their desires. It's important to note that, since these desires can be unconscious, customers don't always know why it appeals to them, they just know it feels right to have it. This model is unique in terms of application, but it's relevant to businesses that sell an image that accompanies their products or services. For example, say you sell glasses. We all long to fit in and feel like we're valued and seen as capable, smart people. Glasses are sometimes a symbol of intelligence, so you'd want to appeal to this desire when crafting a customer experience. You may instruct marketing to create ad campaigns that display pictures of people wearing your glasses in educational settings, or doing things that society labels as smart. Sociological model. The sociological model of consumer behavior says that purchases are influenced by an individual's place within different societal groups, family, friends, and work groups, as well as less defined groups like millennials or people who like yoga. An individual will essentially purchase items based on what is appropriate or typical of the groups they're in. For instance, C-suite executives are expected to be professional and formal. People who hold these jobs will make purchases that speak to and uphold this group's rules, like formal business wear. This model can apply to most businesses, especially those that create products and services relevant to specific groups. To use the sociological model, you'd want to create experiences that speak to how these groups usually act. One example is brands that sell exercise equipment. You sell to and appeal to consumers that are part of a societal group that likes to work out. To delight these customers, you'd want to sell to their desires, like equipment that improves performance or an insulated water bottle that stays cold and leaves them satisfied during their breaks. By doing this, you're speaking to the consumer in that specific group and showing them that your product will help them retain their position in that group. Economic model of consumer behavior. The economic model of consumer behavior is the most straightforward of the traditional models. This model argues that consumers try to meet their needs while spending as few resources, e.g. money, as possible. That means that businesses and manufacturers can predict sales based on their customers' income and their product's price. If companies offer the lowest priced product, they may feel that they're guaranteed a consistent level of profit. While the economic model is the easiest to understand, it's also the most limited. A buyer may have other reasons for purchasing a product aside from price and personal resources. One such example would be prescription medicine in the healthcare industry. While the price of a prescription drug may exceed the buyer's resources, the buyer would still have to find a way to purchase it and meet their needs. They might open a credit card or take out a personal loan to pay for the medicine. Thus, personal income and price don't affect the purchasing decision here. Instead, need does. Contemporary models of consumer behavior focus on rational and deliberate decision-making processes rather than emotions or unconscious desires. The contemporary models include Engel Collett Blackwell, EKB, Model Black Box Model Hawkins Stern Model Howard Sheff Model Nicosia Model Webster and Wind Model Engel Collett Blackwell, EKB, Model of Consumer Behavior. The Engel Collett Blackwell model of consumer behavior outlines a 5-stage decision process that consumers go through before purchasing a product or service. Awareness. During this stage, consumers view advertisements from a business and become aware of their need, desire, or interest to purchase what they've just discovered. Information processing. After discovering a product or service, a consumer begins to think about how the product or service relates to their past experiences or needs and whether it will fulfill any current needs. Evaluation. At this point, consumers will research the product they've discovered and research options from competitors to see if there is a better option or if the original product is the best fit. Purchasing decision. A consumer will follow through with a purchase for the product that has beat out competitors to provide value. A consumer may also stop the process if they change their mind. Outcome analysis. After making a purchase, a customer will use what they've bought and assess whether their experience is positive or negative. After a trial period, they'll keep a product and maybe decide to become repeat customers or express dissatisfaction and return to stage 3. Overall, EKB says that consumers make decisions based on influencing factors that they assess through rational insight. This model applies to businesses that have many competitors with similar products or services. If your product market is highly saturated and competitive, the goal is to outshine your competitors by meeting customers at every stage of their journey. Increase visibility for your business during the awareness stage through search engine optimization. Show them how your product or service will benefit them and give them the resources they need to weigh you against your competitors, like customer reviews and testimonials, free trials, discounts for bulk purchases. Lastly, and provide excellent after-sales support to show them that you care about their business even if they make a return. Black box model of consumer behavior. The black box model, sometimes called the stimulus response model, says that customers are individual thinkers that process internal and external stimuli to make purchase decisions. The graphic below illustrates the decision process. It may look complex, but it's a fairly straightforward path. A consumer comes into contact with external stimuli from your business marketing mix and other external stimuli, and they process it in their mind, black box. They relate the external stimuli to their pre-existing knowledge, like personal beliefs and desires, to make a decision. In short, this model says that consumers are problem solvers who make decisions after judging how your product will satisfy their existing beliefs and needs. Since consumers only follow through with a purchase after understanding how a product relates to their experiences, this model can benefit businesses selling products that go along with a lifestyle. Case in point, cars. Different brands sell their cars to specific types of buyers. Jeeps and Subarus are for those that engage in outdoor activities and need a sturdy, reliable vehicle. At the same time, Mercedes-Benz and Lexus are marketed to those who want luxurious driving experiences. Even though the machinery is relatively similar, these brands speak to the pre-existing life values that customers have, and they promise that purchasing their vehicle will uphold their values. Hawkins-Stern impulse buying model. The impulse buying theory is an alternative to the learning model and EKB, as it claims that purchases aren't always a result of rational thought. When we think of impulse buying, we typically imagine picking up a candy bar or a pack of gum right before checking out. These are certainly impulse purchases, but Hawkins-Stern categorizes them into 4 different types. Escape purchase, sometimes called pure impulse. This involves purchasing an item that isn't a routine item or on a shopping list. Consumers are drawn to these items through appealing visuals. Reminder purchase. A consumer makes a reminder impulse purchase when they come across a product through in-store setups, promotional offers, or a simple reminder that a product exists, like a strategically placed ice cream scoop in the freezer aisle of a grocery store. Suggested purchase. Suggested impulse purchases occur when a consumer is made aware of a product after a recommendation or suggestion from an in-store salesperson or online algorithms. For example, seeing an ad that says, "Other people who bought this shoe you're about to buy also purchased these socks." The consumer didn't know the socks existed, didn't plan to buy them, but now the suggestion has told them that they need them. Planned purchase. Although planned is the opposite of impulse, these purchases occur when a consumer knows they want a particular product, but will only buy it if there is a deal involved. An unexpected price drop could lead a customer to make a planned impulse purchase. The Hawkins-Stern model applies to most businesses, as there are no limits to what a customer with this purchasing behavior will buy. Create a tailored customer experience by putting care into product displays, creating AI algorithms for online shopping, or placing items on sale to appeal to your shoppers who are planned purchase impulse buyers. Howard Sheff model of buying behavior. The Howard Sheff model of consumer behavior posits that the buyer's journey is a highly rational and methodical decision-making process. In this model, customers put on a problem-solving hat every step of the way, with different variables influencing the course of the journey. According to this model, there are 3 successive levels of decision-making. Extensive problem-solving. In this stage, customers know nothing about the product they're seeking or the brands that are available to them. They're in active problem-solving mode to find a suitable product. Limited problem-solving. Now that customers have more information, they slow down and begin comparing their choices. Habitual response behavior. Customers are fully aware of all the choices they have and know which brands they prefer. Thus, every time they make a purchase, they know where to go. We've all gone through some version of these stages. Let's look at an anecdotal example. When I first started buying glasses online, I had no idea which retailers I should use or whether the glasses sold online would be the same quality as the optician's offerings. I searched online to find a high-quality online glasses retailer. Extensive problem solving. I found a few choices and started comparing them from both a pricing and quality standpoint. Limited problem solving. I eventually chose one, and that's the retailer I've used ever since. Habitual response behavior. But these stages aren't that simple. According to the Howard Sheth model, I was under the sway of several stimuli during this process. Inputs. This refers to the marketing messages and imagery a consumer receives while they're going through the decision-making process. Inputs also refers to any perceptions and attitudes that come from the consumer's social environment, such as their friends, family, and culture. Perceptual and learning constructs. This may sound complicated, but this stimulus is simply the customer's psychological makeup and psychographic information. Perceptual and learning constructs may include needs, preferences, and goals. Outputs. After inputs and perceptual and learning constructs are mixed together, you get the output. The output is the customer's resulting action under the influence of marketing messages, social stimuli, and internal psychological attributes. It can result in the customer paying more attention to a certain brand over another. External variables. This is anything that's not directly related to the decision-making process, such as weather or religion, that still may sway the customer's decision. Nicosia model. The Nicosia model places emphasis on the business first and the consumer second. It argues that the company's marketing messages determines whether customers will buy. Simple, right? While it's an attractive model because it places all the power on businesses, it's unwise to ignore the customer's internal factors that lead to a purchase decision. In other words, while you may offer the wittiest and most effective marketing copy ever, a customer's internal attributes may have more sway in some instances over others. The model is comprised of 4 fields. 1. The business characteristics and the customer's characteristics. What does your marketing messaging look like? And what's your customer's perception of that messaging? Are they predisposed to be receptive to your message? The latter is shaped by the customer's personality traits and experiences. 2. Search and evaluation. Similar to the Howard Sheth model's limited problem-solving stage, the customer begins to compare different brands here based on the company's messaging. 3. Purchase decision. The purchase decision will occur after the company convinces the customer to choose them as their retailer or provider. 4. Feedback. During the feedback field, the company will determine whether it should continue using the same messaging, and the customer will decide whether they will continue to be receptive to future messages. Webster and Wind model of organizational buying behavior. The Webster and Wind model is a B2B buying behavior model that argues there are 4 major variables that affect whether an organization makes a purchase decision. Those are environmental variables. Environmental variables refer to any external factors that could sway a purchase decision. Customer demands, supplier relationships, and competitive pressure are a few examples. Broader variables apply, too, such as technology, politics, and culture. Organizational variables. Organizational variables refer to internal factors that could sway a purchase decision, such as the organization's goals and evaluation criteria. Buying center variables. Who makes the final purchase decision? Who has the authority to sign the contract, and who influences the buying process? Buying center variables take all of this into account. Individual variables. These variables refer to the demographic and psychographic information of the individual prospect at the business. What's their education and level of experience? What are their goals and desires? After taking all of those variables into account, B2B organizations are then able to chart a predictable buyer's journey for their target customers. Your customers will inform your strategy. If you take the time to create buyer personas, you'll discover how your customers plan, or don't, to purchase your products and services. If they say a deal entices them, pay close attention to the Hawk and Stern impulse buying model. If they report strong ties to their social groups, refer to the sociological model. Overall, your customers will inform your strategy and help you create tailored experiences that speak to their buyer behavior and leave them feeling satisfied after every purchase. Watching the video. Please subscribe the channel and share the video. Thanks again for watching.